now that we've done all that, we done been serving the military for 20, almost 30 years in your case.
Hmm.
And now you've transitioned. Now you've been in the civilian sector now for about 4 or 5 years now?
Almost 4 years now. Yeah.
Almost 4 years. All right. All
Hmm.
right. So if you could turn back the hands of time and go back and go through transition again,
Hmm.
what would you do differently?
Well, I definitely would try to understand if I'm going to work, what sector I'm going to work in.
Hmm.
And that's difficult to do when you're at the end of this, whatever, however much time you did.
Yeah.
It's 10 years, 20 years, almost 30 years for me. It's difficult because you've been in this world for so long.
Right.
So sometimes you, of course, as you said earlier, there's some anxiety to that.
Yeah.
And they try to put you in all these different classes and programs to get you to understand you're going to be okay. But in your heart, you may say, I'm not going to be okay. And that's why I say sometimes you may need to take that time away from the military
Right.
and just have a couple of months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is,
Yeah.
to really decompress from being in that military environment.
Yeah.
So if I could change one thing in my transition plan, I would at least try to narrow down what sector I'm going to work in. Am I going to be a contractor? Am I going to be a government employee? Or do I just want to work somewhere? Or not work at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they try to lead you in those transition classes that the military gives you. But I'm telling you, a self-reflection is sometimes the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a retiree told me one time, and I was asking them kind of, how did you decide what you wanted to do? And, he said, Brian, it's about a couple of things. It's about family, it's about location, and it's about salary. He just plainly broke it down to me that way. When you talk about your family, okay, what's the best decision for your family?
Yeah.
It may be that you have to stay where you're at.
Yeah.
You may be able to take a job overseas and leave your family where they're at, and that's the best thing for you. But family, number one.
Yeah.
And then, let's be honest, that location is important.
It is.
There's plenty of jobs I could have in the DMV area that pay almost 2 times what I make right now.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do not want any of that weather, and I don't want any of that traffic, and I don't want any of those taxes.
There you go.
But it's an important thing. And then ultimately, like you said, we want to make a good salary. For you really want to get paid for your work.
Right.
Now that I'm in a position where I read the resumes and I'm in the hiring process, and sometimes people come in with their resume and their salary expectation is way high.
Yeah.
I know what the salary kind of range is here at Fort Gordon, Georgia. But when I see the salary range come in really high, I don't automatically freak out.
Right.
Some people in HR are like, well, this person ain't getting hired. You're way out.
That's easy.
But I sometimes say, hold up for a second. Let's see why this person values himself this way.
Right.
They may have a legit reason why they believe they should make this amount of money for whatever reason. Now,
Absolutely.
you probably can negotiate that down to something that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have this salary expectation, is it based on merit? Like, is it based on their experiences, their qualifications, their ability to do the job, or is it they just put a number? You can quickly tell if they just put a number on the sheet.
Right.
You're like, come on now, because anyone that's doing that, that's going to work in a certain area, and this goes to kind of an alternate transition plan, I would have taken more time to do a cost analysis of where I'm living at, as opposed to the salary I think I'm going to get, or that's the range of salaries.
Right.
So for my part, a little bit more research on, understanding my worth in the area.
Yeah.
I'm worth so much money at Fort Gordon from what my qualifications are and my experiences are.
Yeah.
And all those letters behind my name, they mean something here, but they may not mean the same thing in Denver, Colorado.
Absolutely.
Or in San Diego, California. So I would have done a little bit more of that. I just, again, right place at the right time with the person that I knew, talking about who I was able to, fall into a really good situation that allowed me to sit back, like you said, and really kind of understand this contracting world. If you pick contracting,
Yeah.
if you pick, I want to be a government employee, a government civilian, then do the research of that. All the way from understanding what the titles mean, what the levels are, what the steps are, all those things, and then make an informed decision. I just happened to be led to the decision that I had based on my relationship of a certain individual that knew my qualifications and said, "You're the perfect person for this job." And I could have said, "Nah, I'm going down to Florida, man." I had some opportunities in Florida, and I could have taken them, but smartly, I put family first.
There you go.
And since I put family first, and my daughters were right here, one was going to college, and one was just getting out the house, I'll pick the family. Ultimately, worked out for me though.
He made it hard though. I just want y'all to know that this was not an easy. It wasn't an easy pitch. I mean, it was like I felt like I was harassing the brother. I'm just gonna be honest with you. No, it's what I think you're right. And I like the way you laid it out. Like you laid it out based upon the criteria.
Right.
Family, location, and then salary. And I think that's a very good way of looking at it, especially if those are your criteria.
Right.
For me, I think. If I had to go back, because I don't know if you guys, most people who are listening may not be old enough to remember the old Army slogan, "Be all you can be." I was that guy. If I put the uniform on, I was going to be the best uniform within my career field in that organization. That's just how I thought. I felt like I was going to be the best one on that ground. And I put forth the energy, the efforts, the study habits, all of that great stuff to do that. Here's what I did not do. I didn't take care of this guy. I did not get my degree until after I retired. That would have been part of my transition plan. So rewinding, instead of doing, and I don't know if you remember, they had to make me start going into transition mode. Because I was still working.
Because you wanted to
still
stay.
Working. Yeah. I don't know if I wanted to stay. It was just so ingrained in me. I was still working. And people ask me, like, why are you working? You were like 11 months out for retirement. Stop working. Take care of yourself. And it just got to the point I literally had to do it. I had to draw a line in the sand. And they were still coming to me, son, why? Like, nope, right there. Right. And I literally did that for a week straight to be able to disconnect. Again, relationship. Sergeant Major Stanley Aiken. That was my out. I say, Sergeant Major, I'm out. I said, if you need something,
call me,
he said, hey man, I was trying to figure out why you were there the whole time. He said, go. He said, if I need you, I'll call you.
I'll call you.
And it's like, man, this was always available. Here's the thing that I never capitalized on. When you're retiring, you get 2 years to start working on your transition plan.
You do.
So 24 months in advance, I should have been working on my transition plan. 24 months outside of my retirement, I was deployed. And that was by choice.
Yeah. Right.
That was by choice.
Right.
Nobody made me do it. I did it on my own. So that would have been part of my transition plan. Transition from focusing on be all you can be to be all you can be. Right? And make sure that you set yourself up for success. Number one. Once you start focusing on setting yourself up for success, then I can start looking at those, family, location, salary, those things. I like the fact that you brought into the market analysis into the conversation, because I can almost guarantee that most people that transition don't even think about a market analysis. They don't do the comparison between, what's the salary for the profession that I want to go into in that particular area. Do I feel like that salary is my worth, or is it below my worth? Another thing that I learned in that transition is don't let no one else talk you outside of what you believe your worth is by taking your retirement and possible disability and adding it to your salary.
Right.
No. That was one of the biggest lessons I learned, not because I was subject to it, but I was in straight receive mode when I went through all of those programs. And I want to say this was the Department of Labor workshop. I was in 100% receive mode. So if she said it, it was golden to me.
Right.
And I think those she laid down some great nuggets, man. And I would tell you, those would have been my things. Like, even though I took what she said and I put it to use, but if I had done those other things prior to, then my self-worth would have been higher, and then I would have demanded more. when it came down to you, I knew you were the perfect guy for that job. Like you're the first when we first started talking about it, your name popped in my head just like that. I said, I need to call him because he should be in the window. And I'm gonna tell you something else that we did to set the conditions for that here in a few minutes. But I did say I was gonna put you on the spot.
You did,
right? So you kind of put me out there. You didn't expose me. So now I gotta ask, because since we're talking about leadership, right? Scale of 1 to 5. 5 being, the top, 1 being the bottom. How would you rate me as your leader?
I would give you, sir. There's no zeros. I can't do that.
I can't do zeros.
Listen, man. One of the common phrases right now that people are using, in society is give people their flowers now. Don't wait for them to pass, and then all of a sudden now we're singing your praises. Yeah. And I would tell you, and you know this about me, I'm gonna give it to you straight.
Absolutely.
Because I believe as a friend or as a person I work with or whatever it is, just give it to them straight. Right. It's probably the Army warrant officer in me, because that's how we were built, to give it to the commander straight. Hey, sir, this is what we do. But I would tell you, I'm going to give you a 5. I don't give out 5s that often. I'll tell you that. But the reason why I'll give you a 5 is because a couple of reasons. The first reason is because you recognize, like you said earlier, that I have to lead these people different than I've led people in the past. Even from the past contract to the current contract you were in at the time, they do a little different. Yeah. The Fort Sill are different than people at Fort Gordon.
Absolutely.
Field artillery people are definitely different than cyber people or signal people. Yeah. Or intel people. They're just different kind of folks. They're raised different. They're grown different. They are trained and understand. They just understand different. I'll just say it that way. But you recognize that, you know what? I have to lead these people different. Yeah. And I can't be Sergeant First Class Dwyer here. Sometimes I have to be Mr. Dwyer, right? But most of the time, I'm just Dwayne. Yeah. And the other thing I'll give you a 5 for is because you didn't have to flex your authority for people to do what they needed to do. You didn't have to come over there to where we worked at every day and look at people and tell them, I'm PM, right? I'm slightly, whatever, however your title was, I'm in charge of you. You didn't have to do that. Yeah. Hey, listen, let's have a meeting about our expectations as a company. And I also like that you didn't personalize those expectations. These aren't Dwayne Dwyer's expectations. These are ex-company's expectations. Right. I'm just here to facilitate that. Yeah. So I love that you did that. And then lastly, the reason why I give you a 5 is because when that conflict came, you have to have some kind of conflict resolution. Mm-hmm. You recognize that, you know what? I need help. Because I'm going to need a female, and I'm going to need someone else in here, and I'm going to need help with this. Asking for help in a leadership position is one of the hardest things. Yeah. And if anybody that has been a leader should recognize that. Yeah. We don't know everything. We aren't able to understand every situation, no matter how much training we have, no matter how many letters we have behind our name. We need help sometimes. And you recognize that in a very specific situation, which I am very privy to.
I'm trying to figure out which one right now.
Right. I'll say one of the last ones.
I got you. Yeah.
You needed help. And so you said, you know what? Hey, can you come in here with me? Can you help me? Hey, let me run this by you without giving specifics or names. But you kind of asked, throughout the culture of the company, how do you think I should handle this? Because I'm not really sure. So that's why I give you a 5, man. Those traits right there, again, you can't fake them. Yeah. You can't manufacture them. You just have to be that type of person. You're that type of person.
Well, man, I appreciate that. And just so that you guys know, this was not rehearsed. I literally put him on the spot. He had no idea what I was going to ask him. And I appreciate the score. Yes. For me, I consider myself a 3.5, just being honest. Because I am harder on me. Sure. Because there's always room for improvement. I pray that I present myself as a 5 to others. But when I look in the mirror, I am always chiseling and cutting away. So, man, I greatly appreciate that. And at the end of this conversation, I'm going to share with you what I was about to tell you earlier that I don't want everybody else to know right now. So,
Okay.
so speaking of the end of the show, man, let's talk about Brian Parks, man, the person, the legend, the retired W4, the leader in the contracting world right now. Oh, by the way, San Francisco 49ers fan, big fan.
Those are facts.
Put that out there.
Those are facts.
So, what's in the future for you, man? What you got going on?
Listen, man, in my work life, I'm loving my work life right now as a contractor. Like I said, I feel like I'm kind of in my groove now of understanding those relationships I talked about earlier, and kind of how to navigate that, and really understand how to get the best out of everyone that is working on my particular contract that I'm in charge of. Once I'm in charge of, I'm always telling them, I'm not in charge of you. I'm just here to lead you through this process. Right. Hence the title, Site Lead.
There you go.
So I'm loving that though. We're building curriculum at cyber school, and the other part that I'm loving is that the cyber school itself has recognized my team as the go-to team. Anybody that works in the cyber school that says that's not true, they can come see me. It's different when you see me in person. But
I love it.
I'm proud of that though, because we really have been able to build something that, out of all the courses that are taught in cyber school, 6 of them right now either want a piece of our curriculum or want us to teach our curriculum in their courseware.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of that because we really built that. And I've had different people come to the contract, come out of the contract. I've had 2 different companies that I work for.
Yeah.
But in that, I've been steady, been able to help build these things. So I'm very proud about that. But, in my personal life, listen, man, this is and it's going to sound cliche, but this is the happiest I've been in my personal life as a whole person. And that took a lot of time to get here now. And I'm going to get married. I'm going to get married in a couple of months now, which is crazy. Just 2 seconds ago was a year I have, but now, I have about 90 days. But
we don't count COVID though.
Yeah.
That was a blur.
This happiest I've been, just because I'm very centered in who I am, who I want to be, as a whole. Before, I think some of that was kind of, dampered by the military and my job. And like you said, when I put the uniform on, you're gonna get chief all day, every day.
That's it.
Or you're gonna get Sergeant Parks. Whatever I was, you're gonna get that every day, all day. And I had to learn how to, step back from that and be, people say this all the time too. I had to be vulnerable. But, I really learned some of that. Like, hey, you don't have to be this guy that solves everybody's problem.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the go-to person all the time.
Absolutely.
So my fiance has really helped me center myself in that. Yeah. And, I do some work too now. There's no doubt about it. But I'm happy about the work I've been doing, and I'm going to continue to do. Like you said, I'm definitely not a finished product.
There you go.
If I can continue to work on the things I need to work on, I think we'll be okay. But I'm very, very happy in my personal life, with my kids, with my fiance, and everything going on. So I'm just going to keep pushing forward, man, and see how this thing goes.
I love it. And look, man, I'm gonna say it. I would tell you 100%, man. I'm definitely proud of you. And just so that you guys know, he's older than me. I just want to say that. But
I am.
All jokes aside, man, I am 100% proud of you because I watched a lot of this transition.
Right.
Like going from the military, transitioning out, coming into the civilian sector. Seeing you do everything you just talked about, like watching you come in and be a professional employee. When I say professional, I mean he was 10 and 2. Like, he would come to work, do his job. He didn't get caught up in all of the other stuff that was going on. I would even periodically, because I'm only 5'8", so I can just sneak in and people didn't see me until the last minute. Just being honest.
Right.
Like when you 6'5", you don't sneak around nobody, by the way.
Nah, it's hard to do that.
So I can just sneak in and people don't really see me, right? And I can hear, like I'm coming around the corner, I'm here and say, hey, you know what? I hear what y'all saying, but this is what we got to do. What's the problem? And I'm sitting there listening. I said, man, he is still chief. You know what I'm saying? So, from a from a leadership perspective, you appreciate those subtle voices in the environment, those voices that try to speak, I don't want to use the term sense, but try to speak calmness in the midst of a storm. You definitely appreciate those. And then to see you transition from that into the position that you are right now and excel, man, I don't come over there and interfere. I may call you every now and then, check on you, but again, I'm when I say I'm proud of you, brother, I'm really proud of you. And seeing the work that Keisha's doing in you.
That's what you got to think. Right?
Yes, sir, man. So make sure you extend that to her, man. I appreciate her as well. More than I ever had the opportunity to express to her. But when we tap in the glass and I'm giving my speech, it's coming. I'm laying it out there. Now, seriously, man, I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. And it's just good to see you happy, man. That's really what it's all about. I hear people say to use the term happy all the time. But if you ever ask them to define it, they can't define it.
Right.
But when you can stare from a perspective and look at a person and see joy in them, that's totally different, man. So I'm proud of you, brother. Proud of you.
I appreciate that.
For all these people who want to connect with a fellow 49er fan, for all these people who want to talk about military transition, talk about the nuances of leadership, the differences between military leadership and civilian leadership, whether it's contractors, government civilian employee, whatever that looks like. How can they connect with you in the digital space?
Yeah, I think the best thing, the way to get me is on LinkedIn. I'm going to have a LinkedIn profile. If you put Brian Parks, there's hundreds of Brian Parks, but there's only one me. So when you put Brian Parks in, if you put advanced technology leaders behind that, I'll be the first guy to pop up in a very nice blue suit on my picture. You'll know it's me because you'll see this mug and you'll see me in a blue suit with my warrant officer pinned on my lapel. So that's probably the best way to get in contact with me. And people inbox me all the time on LinkedIn. I got to do better at setting my notifications. But people inbox me a lot about different things, and sometimes I feel like my military brothers and sisters forget that I'm retired. And that's inboxes, calls, texts, all that kind of stuff. But I answer all of them. Yeah. Because I am not a hoarder of knowledge. I will say that. Anything that I can tell you to help you transition, whether it's just a conversation or it's what did your resume look like, how do you scope a resume? They give you classes in transition courses for the military, but no one really sits down to tell you that, hey, listen, go on there and look at the job offering. Look at your resume. Scope that thing to fit it. I'm not telling you to lie, but I'm telling you to scope it because one of the things that a lot of people hit me up for, just me particularly because I was a field artilleryman, is how do I take the stuff in the Army that I did as a field artilleryman, which is rockets and bombs and shells and a lot of lethal stuff. How do I take those, those things that I did and put it in a resume for civilian? And so I'm happy to help anyone that, needs that, that kind of translation of, you were a platoon sergeant, so that means you were a supervisor at the mid-level of the organization. So, I got a couple of formulas that I help that I use to help them kind of do that. So all that stuff, man, just hit me up on LinkedIn.
There you go. He gave you access to him. You can't miss him because this picture is taller than everybody else.
This is true.
No, and you can't fault them, man, for reaching out to you, brother. Like you said, when it's in you, it's in you, and they know it. They know it, man. So they're coming for it. All right, man. I need one final thought. I need the golden nugget that's going to send us on the way. What you got for me?
My final thought is so simple, but it's so true. My final thought is this. If you are a person that understands yourself and understands how to build relationships and is willing to learn, you will be successful in the contracting world.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Great point, man. I love it. Brian, don't go nowhere. But thank you for being on the show, man.
All right.
It's been awesome. People, as you can see, he is down to earth. Love to have fun. I mean, just a very approachable guy. Very smart, very user-friendly, man. He's just willing to help anybody out if he can. So again, reach out to him, connect with him, build those relationships. You don't have to talk every day. I don't talk to most people every day. But again, when we do talk, it's like we never skipped a beat. And he is
It's
that
true.
person, because he and I, we do it all the time. So again, Brian, appreciate your time, energy, and efforts. Tell Keisha I apologize for keeping for so long, but I'll make it up. I promise I'll make it up.
Well, luckily she's working right now too on her second job, so she's not down here. You're okay.
Gotcha. All right, brother. Appreciate the time, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks, man.